Hello there, all you Pokemon trainers, and welcome back to the Turn by Turn podcast. I am Chris, and Daniel is here as well.
Hello.
And today we are discussing Pokemon Legends Arceus. We have talked a lot of Pokemon on this show, so I thought we were going to take a little bit of a break from it, and then Legends Arceus came out and was like super different from anything that's happened before. So we had to talk about it. We have a lot to say, I think. Daniel and I have kind of hidden our views on this one from each other a little bit so we could be surprised, because all we know is we both have a lot of thoughts. So I'm thinking we just kind of go in order. I'll start with before the game even came out, purchasing the game. Man, I wanted that Steelbook, and it sucks that America didn't get it.
I didn't know there was a Steelbook. What, did it have other things with it?
It had like a little figure of Arceus with it, I think, and it was only like 10 or 20 bucks more. So I was like, I definitely would have gone for that if I had had that option in the States, but we didn't. And then I thought about importing it, but it was pretty expensive because it seems like not many people, not many regions got it. So I was like, if this is my absolute favorite game ever, I will think about it, but we'll see. I really like having Steelbooks when they're available because I like the big art. But anyway, jumping into the beginning of the game, you start by falling out of the sky, I guess, and waking up on the beach. And I kind of liked this. I mean, just getting right into it. I liked this intro because I have thought for a long time, especially in like the GBA days, it always opened with like the professor standing with like a black background and he's like, this is a Pokemon. And you're like, yes, I know that. But I'm like, in this black room, like, where are you even with the spotlight on, Nidran or something? Like, where are we supposed to be? Do you have a spotlight in the lab like that we just never see? It's very odd. So I like that we just kind of start the plot right away.
I think I appreciated that too, because it is normally kind of like, here's some wildly obvious information.
Yeah, and I thought there was a little bit of that, but I was willing to forgive it because the catch mechanic is so different that I get them explaining it at the start.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of the main character design compared to all the other Pokemon games?
I thought it was pretty cool. I never changed from not my like beach outfit, but your little blue suit that you have. The only like costume change that I made was I removed the character's hat, and that was it. I kept him in the main like traditional outfit the whole time because I just thought it was pretty cool looking.
I gotcha. I did the opposite because you can't give me the opportunity to wear like the Geta sandals, like the lifted sandals, and a rice hat and have me not take it. So I was running around like a samurai, and I thought that was awesome.
That is pretty cool.
I'll start this whole thing by saying this is one of my favorite settings for a Pokemon game ever.
Mm-hmm. So this map is similar to the map of the Diamond and Crystal games?
Diamond and Pearl.
Diamond, Pearl,
Platinum.
So did you notice that when you were playing? Did you see similar things that you recognized? And
oh yeah.
Okay.
Have you played Diamond and Pearl?
I have not. That's
okay.
why I was super curious.
Yeah, we can jump into that part then. I loved that this very clearly takes place. I can't tell how long before, but a very, very, very long time before Diamond and Pearl. But it is definitely the same world because there's characters running around like there's Team Galaxy. I mean, even what you're part of, Team Galaxy HQ or whatever. That becomes Team Galactic in Diamond and Pearl, which is the Team Rocket clone for that game. And that's led by Cyrus. And this game has Cyril, which is your like commanding officer sort of. And Cyrus looks a lot like Cyril, so he's definitely like her descendant. Another really important character in the games is I can't remember her name. I think it's Cynthia. I'm gonna double check so I don't look dumb. Is it Cynthia? It is. It is Cynthia, and she looks a lot like Volo, the little wandering merchant guy that you see. So she's very, very clearly meant to be descended from Volo. And so I really liked that there's all these fan theories about all the Pokemon games are actually in the same continuity. And this just lends a ton of credence to that at least this one, especially, they were very heavily leaning into that.
So there's probably a lot of connection there that I just missed. But I figured when they said the same map, they might have meant the spirit of the map rather than the actual map. So to hear that
There's
it's
some locations too that I definitely recognized. The three lakes that you go to later, pretty late in the game, to meet some special Pokemon we'll talk about. Those I remember very, very clearly, and a lot of the legendaries locations I remember very clearly. So, that being said, another thing, jumping back to character design real quick, that I had to point out was the facial expressions in this game. They
oh,
are so doofy. I love them. Like that was a positive for me. But anytime somebody is like, "Can you believe it?" Your main character just looks at it like, "Oh my gosh!" Like,
like everything is the end of the world.
yes,
Everything.
everything, and it's so funny. Like, I don't know. To me, that was like, it's so bad, it's good.
There's one side quest, and I'm not sure if you did it or will remember it, but a woman is like convinced something is in her house, and you have to like walk around her house and like investigate stuff. And like every like thing you look at, the eyes get wide, like the character is like, and then it's absolutely nothing.
You opened the closet. There's a closet in here. Can you
Yeah,
believe that?
there's a pair of pants.
Whoa. But enough about the characters and stuff. That's not why we play Pokemon, is it? What starter did you pick?
I picked Oshawott,
All
which
right.
I was not familiar with from other games. So normally I tend to lean into what I know, so I should have gone Cyndaquil. But Oshawott seemed pretty cute and kind of reminded me of my dog. Oshawott has the little like clamshell thing that he holds, and my dog has this toy that she like carries around the house with her. So it's kind of reminded me of that. So I went Oshawott instead. How about you?
I went Cyndaquil. Did you like Oshawott?
I did. I thought his evolved forms looked a little kind of doofy.
I did not pick Oshawott because I think his evolved form, his final form, looks terrible.
I had looked it up on Google Images to see what it would evolve into before I picked it. I think I saw some very, very talented fan art because what I ended up with is not what I remember seeing on that Google image search. So,
Well, part of that is because, and Pokemon Company did a great job playing it close to the chest. Only the final form of these Pokemon is different, but the final form of each of the three starters is different for this game than their normal game.
mhm. That's pretty
So,
cool.
did you know that, or?
I did know that at least the Cyndaquil had some different characteristics than the Cyndaquil that I
Well,
loved.
Cyndaquil is the same. It's Typhlosion that changes.
Yeah, like the evolutionary stage that it does end differently than where it did in silver and gold.
And I had no idea. So I evolved him to Typhlosion, and then I was standing there like, why does my Typhlosion have like droopy ears? Why is he a little bit more purple? Like, what is this? So that was an awesome surprise. I really liked the Typhlosion design.
And I really liked, and maybe this is jumping the gun a little bit, but like the updated like Growlithe design.
Sure, we can go into some of the other like Hisuian Pokemon. Yeah, I liked the Growlithe and the Arcanine, but I think the coolest redesign was Zoroark.
Oh yeah.
I loved that. I got like the Alpha Zoroark, and so he's huge and
Hmm.
has the white flowing hair.
Did you miss Dynamaxing?
No, not at all. We can talk about like we'll save it for the eventual Sword and Shield episode and the other episodes and stuff. But I do not care for Dynamaxing or for Sun and Moon. I didn't care for Z moves very much either. I like the idea of Z moves, but they take so long every single time you do it. It's like a 45-second cutscene, and I'm just like, man, I don't have time for this. Like when I do this, when I click this move, I have time to go make myself a sandwich and come back before he's done. The only thing they have presented as an additional that I have really, really liked was Mega Evolution, and I have missed that since.
I feel like there was a lot of buzz about that maybe coming back for the newer games, but maybe that was just sort of like hopeful fan speculation.
Maybe. Though the battles in this definitely do work differently.
Mm-hmm.
There's the agile moves and the strong style moves.
Mm-hmm. Did you like that?
Um, it definitely was a learning curve, or not a learning curve. I would say a getting used to it curve. That even by the end of the game, I was not fully used to, because when you start messing with turn order and stuff, I'm used to we both make our moves at the same time in Pokemon. That was the biggest change.
Mhm.
So it gets weird when you're not doing that. And because I'm not playing against other real players, because you can't do that, it wasn't really hammered home for me that that's what happened until I had a couple of frustrating instances where, like, I was in a really hard battle and it was with another trainer. I ended up getting a crit on turn one. And I was like, hey, this is what I need to, like, help me beat this. And then he used like a full restore the same turn I got the crit. And I was like, how did he know I was going to get a crit to where he could use a full restore? And then I was like, oh, yeah, we're not taking turns at the same time. It's my turn. I got my crit. Then it is his turn to choose an action. So he would choose that. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very rare that those instances come up.
Yeah, I thought for me, I didn't feel like the agile style did anything, but sort of like I understand that it was supposedly like you attack weaker, but you have the chance to double attack. I don't feel like I ever doubled attacked ever. Like I feel like every time I tried it, I got a single weaker attack, so I just sort of gave up on trying it and just if when I wanted to, I used the strong attack instead.
I did sometimes. It worked a little better than that for me. But there's some other things that didn't work quite as well, like priority moves. That used to be a thing. Quick attack used to always go first. Aqua Jet would go first.
Mhm.
And now that's not really how it works. So these moves, I feel like, are not as useful as they used to be. And so that was just a little bit odd. Another way that really showed itself was there were instances I had where maybe I had weaker Pokemon with me to catch some of the legendaries at the end of the game. And so I send out a weaker Pokemon and I'm like, all right, at least if I have some of these weaker Pokemon that I've been leveling, and I'm trying to catch this legendary I've encountered, then at least they can take a hit and I can throw a Pokeball. Because that's what happens in a normal Pokemon game. Each Pokemon that you have at least buys you one more Pokeball thrown. But for this case, it was like, all right, I'm going to send out this weak Pokemon. And then the other Pokemon got to take its turn before I even got a turn. So my Pokemon was already dead. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to send out my next one. Then I send out my next one, and that one gets killed immediately without me getting a turn. And it went by like 3 times where it was like, okay, I lost 3 Pokemon and I haven't gotten a move yet. That's a little bit weird.
Another thing about like the battle mechanics that really blew me away or surprised me, and since I haven't played the more modern games, maybe this is more common in them now. It felt that like power differences like were always critical. So like if you're a water and you're facing a fire, like you could be a level 99 fire facing a level 2 water and it's still going to like critical you.
I think that it wasn't even just type advantage in that. I felt like there was some sort of under the surface, almost like damage minimums. Because I noticed that too, that like even if it wasn't super effective, if I'm fighting a level 20 and I'm a level 40, that 20 is damaging me more than I feel like it would in other Pokemon games.
Yeah, it felt very heavy.
Yeah, and I'm not super upset about it either. I think this is a good time to talk about some of the other bits because I've not been. Let me start over. I tried playing Pokemon competitively for a little bit and did not find it enjoyable. And I kind of realized that I don't play Pokemon exactly for the battling. The battling's part of it, but like that is not my main source of enjoyment. So even though the battling in this one's a little bit janky, I didn't care that much. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, it didn't really bother me. It was more surprising that it felt like every sort of encounter was generally like a 2-hit sort of thing. Like it didn't feel like there was a lot of like planning going into like your attack scheme, like how you wanted to approach the battle. It was whoever kind of gets 2 hits wins.
Yeah, I would agree with that to some extent.
Like your first is like almost always like a critical, and then you have like 10 life left, regardless of what Pokemon you're using. And then like that, whoever gets that second attack wins.
I also have a little bit more trouble because of fairy typing. I didn't grow up with fairy type. And so it's hard for me to remember what fairy type is good against and what is good against fairy type. I have a lot of trouble with that.
I agree. I could not tell you now, and I finished the game. So
All right, so let's talk about the main difference, I would say, and that is the open worldiness. A lot of people say Skyrim. I say Breath of the Wild, kind of. What did you think of being able to just go?
I would actually pick another title. I think it felt a lot like Monster Hunter,
Okay.
where you get your missions and you go out and do them, and then you come back and you have your town environment. People in the town want different things and they tell you what they are, and then you go do them, and then you come back, and in this you get a reindeer sort of thing to ride around on, and a bear. Still not 100% sure what the value the bear has, but
He helps you dig up treasures, which is not that valuable, but if you're a lore junkie, I did notice there were like these ancient tablets you could dig up that had like poetry on them. And so if you dig up all those, you have like a nice little lore story. So I think that's his purpose.
that would make sense, and it would make sense why I didn't do that. Not that I'm not a lore junkie. I am very curious, and I do want to talk about all Pokemon possessing the unique ability to shrink sizes. But to get back to my Monster Hunter thought, it really did feel like after our Monster Hunter Rise episode, starting this game, it felt like I was playing another Monster Hunter game, but with like Pokemon skins. And that certainly doesn't, like, I don't mean that in a negative way at all. It just really struck me as the same, like Pokemon's take on Monster Hunter.
I can agree to that. It's sort of like how there's Pixelmon, which is Pokemon in Minecraft. This is like Monster Hunter Mon.
Yeah, exactly.
And my favorite thing that mimics Monster Hunter is the lack of hand holding. I was expecting a lot more because that's kind of what Nintendo does, and I love Nintendo, but I was expecting to run out into that first field that you start in and have it, swoop the camera over to the right and be like, this is a Starly. You should try to catch this by throwing out your. I thought it was going to do that whole thing, and it never came.
Mm-hmm.
The most it came was there's a galactic guy that is on a bridge, and he's like, you can't cross this bridge until you do this thing. But that was very, very rare that happened.
Mm-hmm. I think Akari, is that the name of the other trainer?
Yes.
It's your age. So Akari, I thought for sure that character was just going to follow you to the ends of the earth and like be telling you advice and like warning you about bridges being out and like everything you were just saying, be a full-on like tutorial character. And I was like thrilled to death when I got to not have her around as like at all, basically.
Like Navi from Legend of Zelda. Hey, listen,
Exactly.
look over here.
I was so worried because in Sword you have that like your best friend that follows you like literally the entire game. I thought it was going to be that again, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this again, guys. So I was happy when she was there enough to like kind of be a plot piece and give you some advice, but it wasn't overwhelming.
Yeah, I appreciated that as well. And I liked the characters enough. Like, I like this professor. I liked Akari running around. I generally liked all the people that we interacted with. I didn't find anybody super annoying.
I thought, and this gets to the end of the game a little bit too, which I think if you're listening to this, hopefully you've played enough to not be spoiled, but light spoilers, I suppose. I thought the restaurant guy being like a secret ninja was sort of a stretch.
He was one of the few that I didn't really like because he has that moment with you at the beginning where he's like, we don't serve your kind here. And it's like, whoa, dude, okay. And then he never is redeemed from that. You never have a moment with that character again where he does the opposite of that. And it's like, you're all right, young whippersnapper. There's never that. You have that negative interaction with him to start. And then it feels like the entire game to me, he's just sort of tolerating you. And then he's like a secret ninja that tries to oppose you close to the end of the game. And I was like, at least I get to like beat you down now, because man, I have not liked you this whole time.
I know, it feels like he tries to kill you in the cave, and then he's like, I'll make you anything you want, just like stop by.
And then more spoilers. After you've beaten the game, did you go and talk to him again?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm gonna pack up and head for a warmer climate. And I'm like, so what you're saying is you made my life difficult. You hated me the whole time, seemingly, and then you try to oppose me right before I'm about to save the world. And you're never gonna say sorry. You're never gonna be like, oh, my bad. You're just gonna be like, I'm gonna move countries. I'm like, what? I
Bro,
cannot stand this guy. Like, good riddance. You can leave.
yeah, very awkward energy.
Yeah, it would have been better if like maybe he had one side quest for you that was like, I hate to admit it, but I need your help, like, and then maybe he shows you like he values you a little bit to just give his character a little more weight. But the whole time I was just like, this guy sucks.
Yeah, and it feels like they eat a lot of potato mochi.
Mochi, and
Mochi.
yes.
They were eating
Yeah,
that a lot.
it does feel like we eat that every day, but I could eat fried rice every day, so like I can't say too much. If it's that good, it's that good. So let's get back to exploration stuff for a second. You talked about like the deer and the bear, but there's more than that. There's also like a bird that you can fly around with, and Basculegion, I guess is what his name is, which looks insane written out. And that's the one, like the big fish thing that helps you get across water.
Mhm.
Did you like riding the Pokemon around? Like, how did we feel about that?
I did. My favorite was the deer because I felt like the deer could do basically everything you needed it to do. Like if you scaled mountains the right way, you could get to the top of them without
Um,
needing the Sneasler.
did you ever find the bug, or did you notice the bug that let you do that a lot easier?
Maybe, maybe not. I'm not sure. What are you getting
If
at?
you take out a Pokeball and you hold right trigger, it's to where your trainer like brings their arm back to like throw it. If you just hold it like that, the game stops like recognizing different level, like different planes. So
Oh,
you can just
really?
walk up mountains that way.
That I did notice.
So yeah, that's a thing. I didn't take advantage. I didn't abuse that too hard, but I did a little bit because it was fun, and that felt very Skyrim to me. That like I'm using some sort of jank tactic to climb this mountain the wrong way. Like I thought that was fun.
Hmm. The Basculesian, I wasn't a big fan of because it didn't look natural at all. Like,
No,
doesn't it basically become like a water ski? If I remember right, it gets like a handlebar and stuff.
I don't even. I think it's reins, like horse reins, but I have no idea.
Yeah.
The thing that looked really unnatural to me was I was like, what happens if I send out my Typhlosion when I'm on top of the ocean? And it's that he gets a little floaty platform that comes out of nowhere. I was
Yeah.
like, this looks so weird.
I did that a bunch to fight water things just to see kind of what it would look like.
Yeah, that looked very bizarre. And for a second, like it wouldn't let him stay out very well. Like I was in some sort of area where that wasn't working very well the first time I tried it. So I actually thought for a minute there that you could only use flying and aquatic Pokemon in the water. And I was like, wow, bold choice. Like
That would have been cool, actually, just to limit it that way. So you were kind of like you're stretched to do other stuff.
I mean, that's what I thought was happening, and I didn't know how I felt about it, but I was just like, bold choice, like to make me do that. But yeah, clearly that didn't end up being the case. So jumping back to story, you kind of get to go off and do your own thing. How did you feel about progressing through the like star system by completing the Pokedex, and also the tasks you had to do to complete the Pokedex?
I was okay with it. It irked me a few times because I felt like I had already caught like a bunch of Pokemon. It stalled, like it won't let you continue the story until you reach like a certain star level. So I felt like there was a fair amount of time where I was just kind of walking around catching duplicates of things just to boost that star level up higher so I could continue on with the story. And maybe that was just my own impatience, but like stars 3 and 4 felt particularly like grindy.
I was doing enough side quests at the time that my experience was a little bit different. I didn't ever have to grind very hard to progress the story. But I understand that it might not have been the best idea to lock story progression behind Pokedex completion.
I can see why they did it though, since they really like this game more than perhaps others. It feels like there's special emphasis on getting that Pokedex done. And maybe it's just because there's no, like in the early games, it's very much based on oh, get this like connector cable and trade with your friends to get the ones off the other cartridges that you can't get on yours. So this game having all of them available the one cartridge without an insane amount of effort to get everything, it
I'm
makes
going to
sense.
say you're not entirely correct on that, but we'll get to that.
I'm frequently wrong, so
We'll get to that. I don't think most people know that, so we'll get to that. That's like end game talk, but
okay.
I did like the greater emphasis on Pokedex stuff, because it made me want to complete it more. And I always thought it was weird in the other Pokemon games that if you watch the show, which I did a lot growing up, it wasn't just scan Pokemon, we're done. It was like we actually try to learn about Pokemon, like, oh, it's interesting, like, these different traits that Pokemon have. And I felt like this game explored that a little bit more, that catch and battle were not your only options to complete the Pokedex. It was like you can observe, you can um, catch them while they're sleeping because they do that. You can throw food at them and feed them. It just put like value on other things,
Hmm.
and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Evolving your Pokemon had value. Catching a different sex of Pokemon has value. Catching a shiny has value. Catching the alpha version has value. It's awesome.
The thing, I didn't see any shinies the entire game. I don't know if that's just like horrible luck, but like every Pokemon game I've played that has had shinies in them, I've never had the luck of getting one. Like, is this just bad luck or?
No, shinies are extremely rare. The first one I saw in game was back when I was in like 5th grade. I was playing Pokemon Leaf Green in the Battle Tower, and I still remember it because this happens so infrequently. So I'm playing the Battle Tower, which has all these trainers in it, and one of the enemy trainers had a green Vaporeon, and I was so upset I couldn't catch it. But that was 5th grade, and I have played Pokemon somewhat continuously up until now, and I'm 27 now. And I found my second shiny ever in Pokemon Legends Arceus. So close, very close to the end of the game, a yellow Bidoof showed up, and so now I have a yellow Bidoof.
Is so, since you've had the experience of seeing it, like, is Bidoof like a favorite Pokemon? Were you excited that your shiny was a Bidoof, or would you have wanted it to be something else?
I would have wanted it to be almost anything else, but I was just excited that I saw the little sparkle pop up, and I was like, oh my goodness, it's a shiny, and I have not had that happen in a very long time. Naturally. Of course, when I was younger, I had an action replay and I cheated tons of shinies in, but that's not as exciting. Then I think the viewers would want me to tell you too. There's a side quest that gives you a shiny in this game.
Okay, I must have missed that one then.
I missed it until the post game somehow. It was like you have to go stand in a certain spot in the first area, and there's like a blue flamed Ponyta running around.
Oh, really?
Hmm.
That's cool.
But yeah, I totally missed that too.
I missed the area with the Ponytas until basically the end where you're like going to the islands.
Mm.
Like, I don't know how I missed it the first time because I was combing the areas pretty extensively because I didn't know what I was going to find, and I thought that was pretty cool. But somehow I just missed that one little section.
Oh, I noticed it, and at the very beginning, I was like, "Oh, there's this giant Rapidash over here. Like, interesting. Like, well, it's in the starting area, so it must be like a starting area boss." And so I tried to fight it, and then it was like level 60 or something, and I was like, "Whoa!" Like, and it's again, I applaud the lack of hand holding that you just let me do that, and I could try to catch it. Like it, I think it actually won't let you at the start. It just won't tell you that, which
Mhm.
is kind of annoying. Um, but I definitely started getting Pokemon that were way higher leveled than me at one point. Lucario is one of my favorites, and I found the Alpha Lucario, which is level 70, when my Pokemon were like level 40, and I threw one Pokeball at it and just caught it. And so I was like, sweet, now I have this level 70 Lucario that won't listen to me at all because I'm not high enough star level. But I have him, so that's fun, and he ended up being on my final team.
Mhm.
So we go through these areas and stuff, and we talked about one sort of battle, but there's another sort of battle in this game, and that's with these guardian kind of Pokemon. And you have to throw little bags of food at them. How did you feel about that?
That to me was probably one of the weaker elements of the game for me personally. I don't not we'll hear your thought in a second, but it felt very like here are all these Pokemon. You can level them up and then they can watch you throw bags at these big monster Pokemon. It felt wildly out of place.
Yeah, plot wise, I think it's really weird. Especially when, again, spoilers. Depending on the choices you make, either Dialga or Palkia is one of these as well. When you get into that battle, you just get these bags of food. There's no plot reason even attempted to be given. They just show up, and it's like, here's like prism food or something. And then it is a little bit weird that it's like, I've gone on this journey. I've leveled up all my Pokemon friends, and we fight with our friends because that's what we do. Now sit on the sidelines while I throw these little baggies at them.
Yeah.
And it's just like I started wondering, what are the other characters thinking while you're doing this? Like, they're all just standing there watching you, and it's not like a giant Pokemon battle where it's like, oh, your Pokemon are just so much stronger, I could never actually think to help you. It's like, oh no, he's just standing there rolling around on the ground like it's a Dark Souls game, throwing these little baggies of food at Dialga's head. Yeah, like, plot wise, very bizarre.
I was really nervous for like my girlfriend or someone to say like, so what's the new game like? And me to have to be like, yeah, I've been throwing bombs at these little bomb bag things at Arcanine for a couple hours now because I can't dodge in time. But
to me, the hardest was Avalugg, the giant snow thing.
oh, really?
Yeah, he was definitely the one that took me the most time. Even like Dialga and Palkia were not that hard.
I didn't have much trouble with them, and I thought it was strange that they set up that you're throwing these little bags at them, and then like occasionally you can throw out a Pokemon to help you. Can't I just have it do all the work for me? Like,
I still like it somewhat as a gameplay thing because I'm like, for a long time I've wanted the trainer to be able to do more, and now you can. And so I appreciate that, but it's still a little bit weird. I feel like we need a little bit more development on that. And then, yeah, like you said, you have to do a lot of damage with your trainer to be able to throw your Pokemon out. But most of the time, I felt like the Pokemon was not actually that helpful. It stuns them after you like deplete their health bar, but not for very long. And I am decently good at dodging all the things, so it made more sense for me to just keep dodging the things and throwing the bags.
I wasn't very good at the dodging, but I felt like a lot of times when I'd go to throw out a Pokemon, it just bounced back to me. Like it wouldn't actually, like it was too scared to come out and fight or something.
The difficulty options for that too, I thought were interesting. Like, I normally don't like the you can essentially just skip this fight if you're struggling. I don't like that in video games because it just feels more hollow. So I didn't choose to do that. But it's also interesting that I kind of get why it shows up in this game, because it's like, well, if you're playing a Pokemon game, this really might just not be what you're here for at all. So
Yeah,
I'm like,
I used that once or twice just when I was getting like super frustrated. But
and like I was saying, I normally don't like that kind of option even being there, but I get it for this when it's like, yeah, that's just, you're playing a completely different genre of game all of a sudden.
yeah,
It feels a lot more, and I know it's not nearly as difficult, but like it does feel kind of Dark Souls inspired.
I did think it was peculiar that you couldn't really catch them.
I thought that as well, but it was like they're so large. How would you eat like all the Pokemon? Okay, this is another great point I think that this game has that Sword and Shield does not. All of the Pokemon in this game are to scale.
Well, I think you're forgetting that Pokemon all have the secret power to shrink down
Oh,
the size of
yes.
the Pokeball, so it shouldn't matter what size.
It irks me though in Sword and Shield that they weren't to scale. Like it was like, I have You look at like Palkia, and then you look at, you know, Shiftry or something, and they're the same size. And I don't think Shiftry's in, but I am having trouble like, one of your starters. It's like they're
Yeah.
about the same size, and I'm like, that's really weird. Palkia is supposed to be huge.
Mhm.
And then in this game, I love that you can send out your Pokemon, like your whole party of 6 even, and just have them standing there. Like
Yep.
that was such a small little thing that I really appreciated the ability to do, because it just lets you kind of compare the size and see the scale, and it makes them, to me, feel more real. I kind of I think about like Ash in the show again, that he, when he's camping or something, lets out all of his Pokemon, and like he can give them a little pep talk or something. And so it's cool. If I had to be like standing around for a little bit, I could just send them all out and be like, "Yep, the gang's all here." Like it's cool.
It
Just
is very
little world buildy things that kind of let you role play. I like that.
hmm How about we cut to a break here, and when we come back, we'll keep going?
That sounds good to me. Stick around so that you can hear about the post game, especially because that's where I have a lot of thoughts.
All right, we'll be right back. Bye.
Psst, hey you, come over here.
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
Okay.
Hey, do you like Zelda?
Yeah, I like Zelda. Who doesn't?
Oh yeah? You like video games?
Yeah, I dabble, I play them, yeah.
Yeah. Do you like listening to people talk about video games?
Of course I like listening to people. Who reads anymore?
Well, buddy, do I got a podcast for you. It's called Fan Fiction, with an X.
Oh,
And you can find it on all your major podcast distributors.
that sounds amazing.
Oh, buddy, you have no idea.
One question, though. Why are you in my room?
Jake, have you ever been looking for a definitive Nintendo ranking and can't seem to find it because it's just everybody's own opinion?
Honestly, all the time, Sam.
Well, I'm looking for someone to give us the answers.
Wait, you mean like a podcast made by two young, handsome men where they create a definitive top 5 list of all things Nintendo?
Should we just do it ourselves?
Yeah, that sounds fantastic.
Let's give it a shot. I'm Sam,
And I'm Jake.
and at Top 5 Nintendo, I'm going to give you my top 5 list,
And I'm gonna give you my top 5 list.
and then we're going to duke it out and see what the real top 5 is.
Hello and welcome back from the break, and back to Pokemon Legends Arceus.
So I do want to ask, and I've
Okay.
joked about it a couple times, that Pokemon shrinking down to fit inside the ball with which you provide them to live in, is that something that they just made up for this game? Is that established in other games?
I have no idea. It's not something I've paid attention to very much. I think it's one of those things in Pokemon that is just like, we're going to vaguely say things at certain times in hopes that you just won't question it too much.
Because I thought it was very bizarre that they like every single one of them has this like kind of evolutionary trait where they can shrink, and like two, that in this particular game your Pokeball is made out of basically like a berry and a piece of wood, and it becomes like a wood Pokeball. That struck me as pretty odd, and sort of game wise, you fall from the sky with some semblance of a cell phone, and then you're in like whatever time period that you happen to be in has like glasses, and like characters wear glasses, and like the time period is wildly confusing.
It's wildly inconsistent, because especially when you whip out that smartphone, people
Yeah.
don't go, he's a wizard.
Yeah.
They're just like, the professor in like instantly is like, oh, you have an arc phone. What does that mean to you? Like,
Yeah.
what has this happened before? Like, is this not unique?
It made sense you had a cell phone since you fell from the sky in a different like realm, or however you define it. That made sense to me, but it seemed odd that They give you like a notepad to be your Pokedex when like you're holding this cell phone.
Yeah, there's definitely some clash there. And I liked what you talked about. Like, they do seem to have electricity in like the Galactic HQ or whatever, or Galaxy Team HQ. But I'm like, how do you have glasses and lights and you haven't made flushing toilets yet?
Yeah. Yeah, the technology advancements are very, very bizarre.
I'm wondering if, to some extent, it has happened before. There's that guy that is one of the Guardian Pokemon's like stewards or whatever they're called. I can't remember their titles, but he's like the conductor guy, and he fell from the sky too, apparently, like decades before you did. So it could be that he tells you he can't remember very much, but I'm like, maybe he remembered some that he was like, yeah, in my time, these people like that can't see very well, we put glass in front of their face and it helps them. And that was enough to like kickstart somebody into being like, huh, okay, like maybe we could do that. Like I can see how maybe he could help them come up with some of these things.
All right. Fair.
You're not buying it.
Those are some nice rose-colored glasses that you're wearing. It doesn't irk me at all. Like I'm not complaining. I just think it's like very peculiar. Like there's all these semblances of technology, but then it seems like it's set in a distant past where you have wood Pokeballs.
Yeah.
With their little like brass latch that keeps them shut.
Yeah, it's very just I think that what the whole time period is sort of rose-colored glasses, that it's like when you talk about like I talked about on our like Spirit of Sonata episode, I think that like samurai era Japan is super cool. But then anytime somebody asks me, it's like that knows that about me, that it comes up in like a party game or something. What era in history would you go back to or go forward to? And I always pick like if we're going back, if I have to go back, we're going back to like the 90s or something, or like maybe the early 1900s where I can like win lottery numbers or something. And they're like, "Oh, you don't want to go back to like samurai Japan? You think it's so cool?" And I'm like, "No." Like there's so much like death and it just kind of sucks. Like it's one of those things that's really cool to learn about, but I wouldn't want to live it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of the same, I think, for this Pokemon thing. It's like you're looking at it like, yeah, we're going to go back, but we're going to still have cell phones because that's convenient. And we're going to have some electricity so you can do things at night because that's convenient. And it's like, yeah, but all right.
So what did you think of the different wardens?
That's what I was thinking of, that I was calling stewards, the people that take care of these Pokemon. I kind of liked them. They were all unique enough that I felt like everybody had their own quirks and they felt like actual characters. It wasn't sort of like the gym leaders who you go talk to a lot of the times and then they're like, "Thank you for coming to my gym. Thank you for fighting in my gym. Goodbye." And it's like, "Oh, okay, you're just going to stay here and this is where you live." This felt like the wardens did things outside of their gym, in quotes, that they had lives, there was lore behind them, they have their own stories, and they're doing things.
Mm-hmm. The only one I wasn't a super fan of was one of the ones near the end, the Voltor warden.
Oh, Melly, yeah.
He seemed kind of strange. Which is obviously the character, so it fits. It just...
Yeah. He's another one that was a little bit like Benny to me, the cook, in that you have negative interactions with him and they just kind of stack up and there's never a better interaction with him.
Yeah. It seems like this character should be like in prison or something. He's like a dangerous threat to like everyone.
I don't here, let me say it this way. I dislike Melly. I don't think he's badly written.
No, definitely he's very well written. I just think he's like a threat.
Yeah, I agree. He definitely feels like the character that would mess all this up somehow. Like in the pivotal moment where things are really serious and really precarious, he would burst in and be like, "Melly will save the day and get all the glory," and mess it up.
Yep. That sounds about right.
if we're going to keep going plot-wise,
Mhm.
you don't even need melee for that. So let's talk about the end of the game, if you don't mind.
Let's do it. I know
Because I
you're.
got some thoughts.
Let's hear it.
So, you get expelled from Galaxy Team because people fear what they don't understand, yada, yada, yada. I get it. And whatever. You're supposed to go gather up the red chain that ends up doing like absolutely nothing for you, really. Try and solve all the world's problems by yourself. And I appreciate the like subtle things they do to like that some of the characters do to help you. But then we get to you have to go up to Mount Coronet, I think it's still called. Spear Pillar, as it's called in Diamond and Pearl later games. You get up there to the temple, and you have to fight Benny, which we already talked about in the tunnel to get there. And like I said, you never have a good interaction with Benny. It felt a little bit good to fight him and then just be like, move aside, old man, that kind of thing. But then as we get through that, the one that really irked me is the head of Galaxy Team, Captain Commodore. He stands in your way. And it's just like, dude, you want me to save the world, and like, why are you going to make it as difficult as possible? Like, the thing standing in my way from saving the world is you. And like, it's so weird that he's like, well, we'll fight together, and then we'll like know who's right. And I'm like, I get that this is like a story, but not a good way to decide things. And B, if we both agree that we have to defeat Dialga or Palkia, depending on your choices, whichever one's coming, why would we not both just do that? Like, we don't disagree about what needs to happen. It's not that we're in conflict. It's that we're supposed to be in conflict because the game tells us so. But our goals are not actually really different.
That part of the story was a little odd, where you get expelled from Galaxy Team, and then you have to choose between the two sides, whose names are escaping me at this moment.
Irida or
Yeah, you have to.
the leader of the Diamond Clan and the Pearl Clan.
Yeah, so you have to choose between them, and then who did you choose?
I picked Irida.
Same, and I felt like that decision didn't have anything to do with anything. It seems everything happens as it would, regardless of which one that you picked.
It does not.
It does not.
No. The difference is and that's why I've been saying it depends on your choices. If you pick Irida, then Palkia comes out and you use the chain on him and you continue the plot that way. And then Dialga is your final boss.
So it just rotates the order of... Okay.
Yes, if you choose Atamon, then Dialga comes out first and speaks to him in his head, and Palkia is your final boss.
Gotcha. So that seems pretty similar.
It is still very similar.
Just a reverse order. Okay, that makes sense to me.
They say pretty much the exact same dialogues.
As I was going around catching these little like balloon animal Pokemon that are in the caves, I felt like I was talking to her, expecting her to say something like have dialogue that was sort of like unique to her, but it was like, we should get back to the map, or like different
Yeah.
things. So it felt like picking her didn't really result in anything that I missed on the other side.
I would agree. And I'm kind of okay with that too, because if you're going to hit me with one choice at the very end of the game before the credits roll, that's going to be vastly a different experience. I would be kind of annoyed if I had to replay the entire game to see the other side of that.
That's fair. That's good point.
But anyway, so after you complete getting these plates, catching these Pokemon, and then you go to confront the final boss, which you don't use your Pokemon for, really. You use the little balm bags or food bags or whatever they are. To me, the credit, like, it's just like, oh, you calmed it down and caught it in your Pokeball, I guess. And then Captain Commodore has the audacity to be like, we did it. And I'm like, we? You actively stood in my way and prevented me from doing this. You expelled me from Team Galactic. You made it so I couldn't go back to the town. And then you've tried to physically stop me at the end. And after all of that, you're going to be like, we did it. It's like, what? No. Like, I was actually a little bit annoyed by that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I felt like the credits just kind of rolled. This doesn't feel like the end. And I get that there's a post game, but I was like, that was not a satisfying ending. I do not feel like this is where the game ends. Like, it felt like the Game Freak in this case was like, well, we have to roll the credits at some point and there needs to be a post game. So like, I guess just put the credits here. Like, it felt a little bit arbitrary.
It would, considering that there's 2 additional endings after that. So you have the Volo battle where he turns into Kid Icarus, and then you have the final battle against Arceus himself. So,
all right, let's talk about the Volo battle. So, I loved that. It was a little bit obvious that he was going to turn on you because he's way too invested. And I get that it's, again, like, I have to remind myself, the plot we're writing is supposed to be on a level that, like, 10-year-olds can understand.
Mm-hmm.
And so I get it. But it's weird that he's constantly over your shoulder, like, did you solve the puzzle yet? Did you solve the puzzle yet? Like, no reason. I'm not rushing you. I'm not that interested. But, like, did you solve it, though? I'm like, clearly, you have something else going on with this.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that just reminded me of some random thing that I just need to toss out there.
Okay.
When you're doing quests for Madam Web, or the lady...
All right, so you have these kinds of thoughts, too.
Yeah, and like the 1994 Spider-Man show that has Madam Web, there's like the older lady in the dress that's...
Yeah. I remember.
She makes you like go out and get like 3 pieces of wood for her, and then she's like, I'm gonna make something out of this, and it has nothing to do with the story at all. And I was thinking, like, I'm in the final like hour and a half of this game, and it's making me go like hunt for pieces of wood.
I luckily just had them, so I just gave them to her.
I didn't have any. I had to like go look for them.
So you got sent on this whole fetch quest.
Yeah.
Mine was, I stepped outside the front door to the little chest and got wood out and just handed it to her and was like, well, that was weird.
That was lucky that you had it. Because, like, I was blanking on where to even go to get wood at that point. So I just had to jump, like, keep map hopping. And then that's at the point where, like, you can't go back to Galaxy. So you have to go back to her place to go to another place. So, like, I had to jump maps, like, 6 different times just to find 3 wood to give her. And then it turned into, like, nothing. I think she said she was going to make a broom or something out of it. So
A cutting board.
Cutting board, that's what it was.
Because she's been using this plate you need as a cutting board.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really funny.
Yeah, that part was funny. The cutting, yeah.
Her whole character, and we're talking about, like, Madame Kojita, I don't know how you say it. To me, it felt like the developers at Game Freak were like, Lady Dimitrescu, or however you say that, from Resident Evil this past year, was really, really popular. We should do that. And so they just did. And her whole goal, and I know it's like a trope, and I find it funny, though, her whole thing was just to tell you about, like, the red chain and give you this. Really, she didn't have to give you this, like, plate. She just happened to have it. But it was weird that it's like, yeah, her whole entire, like, clan or whatever, her family is passed down for generation to generation, that you need to collect these things to make this little chain, and that's it. And I was like, it's so weird that is all that your role in this is. That is all you know. You don't even necessarily know how to make it. You just know how to tell me that I need to make it.
It's like in Lost when Desmond is in the hatch, like, putting in the numbers, like, every couple of hours. Like, he doesn't know what he's doing it for. He's just doing it because he was told to.
I don't know. I haven't seen Lost.
Oh, really? Good. You'll be happier having not seen Lost.
That's why I've not seen Lost, but this is what people tell me. I don't want to fully sidetrack, but it seems to be it's been explained to me as another J.J. Abrams thing where it's like, wouldn't it be interesting if this, and wouldn't it be interesting if this, and then at the end you're like, okay, now what does it all mean? And he's like, what do you mean? What does it mean?
But to get back on track, so the fight against Volo, I had a lot of trouble with this because I felt like
Same.
in that specific battle, like we were talking about earlier, it felt like everything was like 175 damage critical hits.
Yeah, to me, it was like the AI normally like jerks around a little bit, and it's like, oh, I used protect here. Haha, like that's not what would have benefited me, but I did it anyway. Volo, it was like, if the AI can kill you, it will kill you.
Yeah.
Like he was serious. And I loved that. I loved that it was like an actual really hard fight. It felt like, I mean, I got frustrated during it, but once I beat it, I felt so good.
Mm-hmm. And that part too was just like ripped my soul apart because I remember being like so happy when I finally got through like the main batch, and then he calls up this like even stronger thing.
Giratina, yeah.
Yeah, the soul drops, like the spirit falls apart. So I ended up having to do it a bunch more after that.
Same, because I where I was, I could go 1-for-1 with him, and so I did beat him the first time, and then he pulls out Giratina, and I'm like, oh, you have 7 Pokemon. Okay, and so then I think even my first time I got really lucky and was able to beat Giratina, and then Giratina changes forms and gets another health bar, and it's like, you have 8 Pokemon! And then he killed me, and I could not get back to that point for the life of me. So I ended up having to leave and just do tons of grinding to get back. And I ended up going to the ice fields and finding Glalie and just murdering like 100 Glalie to get my Pokemon high enough level to be able to go back and deal with that.
It also seemed like type didn't really matter. Like I had a lot of mismatched types, and it didn't seem like it really gave me any huge statistical advantage.
Oh, I was using it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I made some changes to my team even because of that. I ended up having to remove Zoroark, and I traded in Togekiss because he was fairy type, and that would help me against Giratina. And then to finally beat it, it was my Typhlosion with about 10 health against his Giratina with like half health or something, and I got to go first, and I beat him.
Mm-hmm. I had to use some revives just to bring back Palkia. Like I felt like it was very much like an item battle where it's like if I have enough revives, I might be able to win. And it felt super ironic to me that the person that sells you max revives is him.
Yeah.
And it's like, I wish I could have bought like 30 more of those.
Yeah, I had that thought too, because I was like, oh, I can just grind against Volo, because when I game over, it just moves me back to right here. But then I was like, oh, my revives don't come back.
Yeah.
So I need to not do that. And I didn't feel like, too, I could just spam those and win, because I was in the problem of every time I could use those to trade. Because he was one-shotting pretty much all of my Pokemon. So it was like, if I use a max revive, then I restore a Pokemon to full health and bring it back from fainting. But the one turn it's costing me to do that, he is knocking out another of my Pokemon. So all I'm doing is trading one for the other. And I did do that to try and get some type advantages in and keep the type advantage. So Volo gets an A+ from me as a boss. I really enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm. I think that's probably the hardest like Pokemon battle I've had. Like throughout the entire series.
I would have to replay the GameCube games again to compare, because those have some really hard ones, but it's definitely one of the hardest in the series.
Yeah. Again, I've played a lot less than you have, having not been the president of the club, right?
I was not. No, I joined the Pokemon Club in college for a little while just to flex my nerd card here. um, and we played like a lot of people in there played like competitively, like in the tournaments and things. And that was what convinced me that I was like that playing in tournaments competitively is not for me because I'm playing against people that do it. And I just saw how much more passionate they were than I was, and they were way better than me. And I was just like, I enjoy Pokemon more casually than that. And that's fine. I'm happy this way.
So after that fight, did
All right.
you what
After that fight, you get to go catch more legendaries, which I had a joy doing. But here is where a really big sticking point is for me. I thought I would just get to go catch Arceus after this and get to do that. But it hits you with a quest that says, go meet every other Pokemon and then come back. And I was like, is that serious? And I looked it up on the internet and it was like, yes, that is serious. You need to complete your Pokedex to fight Arceus. I don't mind that as a condition. I think that that's cool. The final step for you to 100% complete the game is Arceus. I think that's neat. What I have a massive problem with is that you can't get every single Pokemon from this game. While I was running around trying to collect all the legendaries after this, like I said, had fun doing that. It eventually clicked to me that I was like, I want to go get Darkrai. Because I like Darkrai. He's one of my favorite legendaries from this generation. And I had been watching a YouTube Let's Play of it as well, from the YouTuber Shofu, who I'll shout out here because he is hilarious to me. And so I knew kind of how to get Darkrai because I'd seen Shofu do it. He got a quest from the quest board in the Team Galaxy headquarters from the professor's little board, and that let him go fight Darkrai. And I was like, okay, neat. I just need to go do that. And I assumed that when he got it, he was like a 7th star. And I was like, oh, okay, I don't have it yet because I have to be a 7th star. That's not the issue. To get that quest, you have to have Pokemon Brilliant Diamond or Pokemon Shining Pearl. You have to have a completely separate game to get that quest. Yes.
That I did not know. I thought that it was self-contained.
I don't think Shofu knew that either, because he's like a Pokemon YouTuber. So I thought that game looked bad. That's why I didn't buy it. I did not like the art style, and I felt like there was not a lot of effort or care put into Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, so I didn't buy them. And I would encourage you all to do the same if you feel that way. Like, if you don't think a game looks good, don't buy it. So even though it's Pokemon, I just skipped it. But I don't think Shofu knew that, because like I said, he is a Pokemon YouTuber, so despite sharing some of my feelings, he had it. And I don't think that there's any interaction that tells you, because you have this game, you get this quest. It just is there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I think most people don't know that. But that means, what that ends up meaning is you cannot complete this game. You cannot fight the final battle unless you own a different game. And I'm like, that makes this the only Pokemon game in existence where the Pokemon on the box, the legendary Pokemon on the front of the box, you cannot fight or catch or even see that Pokemon unless you own an entirely separate $60 game. And I was like, that is insane.
That is wild. I did not know that.
So I was like, I told Daniel, I was struggling to complete this game on our timetable because this is a newer game and our season is getting close to wrapping up. So I was like really trying to rush through this. And I'm very glad that I hit this point because I think that's important to discuss and talk about. And I would never have known had I not gotten to that point. So I'm glad I did, but I feel real bad about that. And it did color a lot of my thinking about the game because it's like, Well, now, do I feel driven to complete the Pokedex? Well, the ultimate payoff for that is Arceus, but it's like, I've been told, unless I shell out $60, I don't get to complete the Pokedex.
So did you play much after that, or did you do the Volo fight and kind of just call it?
I didn't know until a good amount after that Volo fight. Because like I said, I was the next thing I did after that Volo fight was I was like, oh, I'm gonna go get the other legendaries because that'll be fun. And it was. But Darkrai was in that line. And so that I got Shaman, I got Manaphy, I got Giratina. But then I was like starting to be like, all right, where's Darkrai? Like Darkrai's my favorite out of all these. And then it was like, oh, looking it up on the internet, you can't do that. I feel weird because it feels like not a totally complete game. If you wanted to have a crossover using the data from previous games, I have no problem with that. I think that's a really cool way to reward people that are into the whole series. But I would have done that by giving you some clothes, like a unique outfit, or some items. Like maybe you get some premier balls, and that's the only way to get those. Something like that would be fine. But when you put a Pokemon behind that now, I'm like, okay, so I just can't complete this game anymore. And I can't get to the title character. I can't get to Arceus, who the game is named after. I'm just like, I don't know what Game Freak was thinking in that. I kind of suspect that they weren't thinking, because it's, again, that this has never happened. I feel like it's just kind of an oversight that they were like, well, most, if you're that into Pokemon, you'll probably have this other game. If you're so into Pokemon that you would actually 100% this game. But I'm like, well, hi, I'm the guy that was interested in that and does not have those other games.
So overall, let's sort of try to work towards wrapping up.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
So overall, what was your experience? Would you say like out of 10, what would you sort of rate this?
I don't really want to put it on a out of 10 scale, because I don't typically like doing that, because then it's like, well, you can kind of read things into that aren't there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just gonna say I think it was clunky and clumsy, and it feels like a first attempt at an open world game. And I'm going to go back to what I've said for previous Pokemon games too that had some lackluster elements. Pokemon Company is the largest entertainment company in the world. Like, no parameters, no anything. Like, they are the largest. They have the most money, the most power. Still feel like they could have done better, given that. And all of that said, I feel like it's not a fully complete game. It does feel a little bit tech demo-y in catching the Pokemon. The battling system, like I said, is not fully fleshed out. I think it's still a little bit clumsy. And all of that being said, I still kind of like it.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
It was just still like, it's like when somebody gives you a game that is not perfectly balanced, like I've said in the past. If you give me a game that's not perfectly balanced and you make it multiplayer and tell my friends and I to figure it out, we'll figure it out and have fun with it if it's fun. And this was sort of the same thing, in that the shell of the game, the base of the game, is not the most developed, well processed, well thought out thing. But I can make my own fun with it. And I enjoyed the ability to just sort of not have someone holding my hand and not have a plot forcing me too much. And I liked to just go out and be and kind of have my own adventures with Pokemon. And so, all that said, is it a great game? Is it a fantastic game? I'm not sure. But it's a fun game. And I would play another Legends entry that was even more well developed.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that will come. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I'm like, I think that we've seen now the trailer for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and we've seen that they're taking some of the Legends DNA. But I think that we're actually going to get another Legends game at some point.
I think they would. They might choose another region. Like, I think it would be cool.
I think so.
A long-time fan to have like the Johto region or something, like the Kanto region. Personally, just as the resident old man.
Yeah, if they do one of the games set in a European region, if they do that hundreds of years before, we could have like a bunch of knights running around.
Which would actually be right up my alley. But yeah, I think I had a lot of fun exploring. It did sort of lean into my RPGs aren't always great. Like more turn-based RPGs aren't super great in the open world because it feels like there's a lot of dead space or turn-based combat. But it seems like this game did a pretty good job of populating the space with enough Pokemon to find that it didn't feel too barren. Like, it felt like I generally ran into something. Like, sometimes in Breath of the Wild, I felt like I was just sort of like out in the wild. Like, there wasn't anything to necessarily see, but I was out there anyway. So I felt like I ran into enough things in this game that it satisfied that curiosity without being so massive. It was impossible to find anything. One of the big critiques I saw of this was that the graphics were not very good. I'm not a graphics person, so it didn't really strike me as terrible. Is that something that you noticed seemed kind of clunky or bad?
I mean, it's again that biggest company in the world thing. Could it and should it probably look cleaner? Yes, it should. But I'm also not a graphics person. And so I'm like, does it look bad in some spots? Yeah. I know I said very early on when Daniel and I were discussing this game, like right after it came out, I was like, it feels like a GameCube game, kind of. But I also didn't mean that fully in a bad way. I like the way the GameCube looks, and it's like, are we past that? Yeah, but it looks good enough. It looks fine. Like, I just don't care.
Yeah, it didn't ever feel like unrendered enough to ruin it. But as for frame of reference, like the last like 3 to 5 games that I've played have all been 8-bit. So anything not in the 8 to 16-bit region or like the 2D HD remaster sort of look of like Octopath or Triangle Strategy is going to look pretty good to me. So I guess I'm probably not the best evaluator of that stuff.
I think that you and I, as fans of 8-bit and 16-bit and all these retro RPGs, are probably not the best people to evaluate graphics. Like, yeah. I try to be more objective in doing that because it's, again, that's like what are we capable of in the games industry right now, and what should the biggest video game company, what should they be capable of then? And that's kind of where I put my bars. And it's like, the answer is more than this, but it doesn't super detract for me anyway. And I wanted to say too, this is going to be a landmark Pokemon game for me anyway, in that like playing Red version for the first time was awesome. And then Gen 3 was really a big standout to me. I loved playing Ruby and Sapphire. And then I had great memories with Diamond and Pearl and Platinum. And then we go all the way to X and Y is the next one that was sort of standout to me. And then this has been the standout one to me after that. Is this will be the next one in the line that, like, in my personal Chris's must play Pokemon games, Legends is currently in there as the most recent iteration. Also, I felt like I'd be remiss to there were 2 small bits I wanted to get in there, and now it's like a little like out of context, but whatever, that's fine. I appreciated that you could get all the starters at the end of the game. That was something that I did really appreciate.
Yes, that was very cool.
I think that should happen in all the Pokemon games. That was a great change. That he was like, hey, these Pokemon have just been in the lab the whole time, and that's like a sad life for them. Can you take them with you? I was like, hey, more new friends. Because I was wondering about that. Because breeding doesn't seem to be a thing. And so in most of the other Pokemon games, you can get the starters to eventually fill out your Pokedex by the online trading stuff. because people start breeding the starters and then they kind of get swarmed on the online stuff because everybody needs them. But I was like, with this, that you can still online trade, but are we expecting us to do the old reset strats where your friend resets the game and picks this starter and then trades it over to you and then resets the game again, and we keep doing that? So no, the answer was no. We did think about that. And then the other thing I had to say was, wow, is it a lot of Pokemon lately? We got Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl in November of 2021. And then Legends came out in like February-ish, I think, of 2022. And now we've gotten the Scarlet and Violet trailer, which says that will release in 2022 as well. So I'm like, in 1 year's time, we're getting like 3 Pokemon games. And not that don't feel like super spin-offy. Like, it is kind of crazy to me how quick we're going. So that I kind of got off track, though, from a lot of things. Daniel, how do you feel about this game?
I liked it. I'm not sure how quick I would be to go back and play it. But I did enjoy it. I did miss the nostalgia of like having gym badges and a more cohesive story. Like, the Pokemon games aren't known for their stories. It's more about the experience and the catching different things that are cute or funny or whatever it might be. So I think I missed that part of it. So if they want to go back and add, like, if they were to kind of squish like a silver version with this game, it would be like perfect.
I can say I didn't miss the gyms, and I was actually really happy that's where we'll diverge a little bit. I was really happy to get away from them because we've had them in every single game up to this point. It just felt good to move away from that and try something else. And they tried a little bit with Sun and Moon. They replaced them with like trials, and it ended up just feeling weird. It was like, this is not a gym, haha. And I was like, and like, you've made it like 9 gyms, I think, and you've called it something else, and they're outside instead of inside. Like, it just wasn't different enough for me.
Yeah.
So this felt good to me, that it was like, all right, I don't have to think about gyms.
Yeah, if I was more versed in the entire franchise, I'd probably feel the same way. But
but I think you'll get your wish in Scarlet and Violet. It looks like we'll go back to a more traditional thing, and we'll just take some of the open worldiness of this with us. And I'm happy with that. I will probably be buying Violet, is my guess. But yeah, I'll be buying Violet because purple's my favorite color, but I also really like red. So I have a little bit of a question there, but no matter how it looks, I'll probably give it a shot because I'm always up for trying a new Pokemon game.
Same. I'd probably go Scarlet, personally.
Well, there we go. You guys can look forward to our eventual review of that.
I know so far it has been so Pokemon heavy, so it feels like there's been extra. We should be talking Pokemon. People seem to be liking Pokemon lately, so we should squeeze in some Pokemon. But
I think it's just one of those RPG series that everyone knows and everyone has played, so it's a very safe thing to do for a show like ours. But
definitely,
I promise we'll get into some more niche ones very soon.
Yes, we have a lot of stuff on the docket. But how about we wrap it up there, and then I think honestly we could probably talk more about this. So if you want another Pokemon Legends Arceus episode, just let us know.
Yeah,
record like a bonus episode or something.
We could talk more of the side quests because we didn't really do that too much.
Yeah, there's a lot to this. And we kind of stuck to the big ticket stuff, but there are a lot of little tiny things that we could get into as well. So if you want more, just let us know. You can find us on Twitter at the Turn by Turn Pod. You could be really cool and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and leave a 5-star review. And a nice comment would be great. You
can listen to us on YouTube, which I do check the comments still. So write in more comments so we have more to read. That would be appreciated. And know that we'll read them.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Daniel already gave the Twitter handle, but it was at Turn by Turn Pod. You can find us wherever podcasts are sold. I am on Twitter at Chris_Harkey. That's my name. And Daniel is on Twitter at McGarr Mentions because he is much better at coming up with handles than I am.
Well, until next time, I'm going to spend my next couple hours thinking of handles for Chris to switch to. So we will talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye, guys.